Hey everybody, welcome into another little round of Chop Talk here. I'm Choppadong. I'm DFS Army lead editor of content and of course senior contributor and coach. And I really and truly just encourage you to become a VIP here with all the sports coming back after the coronavirus pandemic. I don't put videos out too terribly often, but when I do, I try to make them free. I mean, I do a lot more honestly in private. I do a lot more one-on-one coaching with people inside the DFS Army when they ask me questions. It's easier to give them screen share and video answers to point out exactly what it is that I'm talking about when I'm trying to help them improve their games. So the link is there, the coupon code CHOPPER, it's 20% off each and every month. If you're interested in making your game a better game or taking it to the next level or even learning new sports, I would encourage you to become a VIP and look us up. Come inside, check me out, talk to me, whatever. I'll talk to you till I'm blue in the face when it comes to videos. I'm going to go through the PGA sheets this week at the RBC Heritage Classic. This is the, it says Charles Schwab, but it's not. We're talking about a lot of what's going on here in the RBC Heritage this week. So we just didn't change the header. So I'll make a note of that and get that corrected. But that said, let's walk through and play a little game of agree or disagree with our expert DFS up north. He's way better at PGA than I am. But what I want you to understand is where I'm going to then take this and transfer this to our optimizer to run some mass multi lineups here in the PGA tiers format. So I need to make some stands. I need to make some convictions. And when he talks about Rory and Justin Thomas being great and no one's going to play Rahm, he's probably right, because Rahm sucked so hard last week, but Rahm is still an elite player in the world, which makes him a great GPP pivot, because when people get afraid to play a guy, you need to go overboard on that guy. And when people, are overly confident in a guy, you need to consider fading that guy, especially in a sport like PGA that's very, very short-term volatile. Rahm can have a good week, and then if he does, Rory and Justin do okay, and Rahm's in the winning lineup, and you've got leverage all of a sudden over everybody in the field if you've got a lot of weight to Jon Rahm. So, I mean, if these three guys average about 30% exposure, right, if you did an even mix, but I would bump Rahm up to about probably 40 to 45% of my lineups. I'd drop Justin Thomas to probably about 30-35%. I might only take 20% Rory. I know Rory's a great golfer. I know Rory could win this week, but I also know that a lot of people are going to play him because all of that Rahm ownership is going to go somewhere, and it's going to go between Thomas and Rory, which means I'm going to want to up my ownership here and decrease my ownership here for a little bit of leverage. When there's limited choices, the ownership really consolidates on a few key plays, which means you really get a lot of leverage. If there's not much difference between the talent of the players, then you have that leverage in that ownership gap, and that really gives you an advantage. Same thing down here in Tier 2. DeChambeau's going to be very popular. He could do okay. Heritage isn't exactly set up for him, but he could do okay. Xander Schauffele really disappointed some people probably on that 18th hole or 17th hole when he missed that putt last week. Brooks Koepka probably won't be played much at all, so I would be looking at the ownership here probably to go on DeChambeau and probably lesser on these two guys. So I'd probably take Koepka and Schauffele and probably bump them up to about 35-40% each, and then drop Bryson DeChambeau down to about 20%. Hope the chalk lands on Bryson, and then I have leverage again. These two tiers are probably pretty straightforward. You come down in here into Tier 3, and as you're jumping down, Morikawa choked. He's a young kid. He probably is not the type of player that's just going to put it out of his mind and bounce right back. But the problem is he also scared some people, I'm sure, thinking that. So where's the ownership going to go there, up or down? I'm going to disagree with Josh here a little bit. And because of Morikawa's legendary iron accuracy and how precision transfers into successful RBC Heritage tournament appearances, I'm not going to fade him at all. In fact, I'm going to probably get a little bit of exposure to him on purpose. But I do like Hideki Matsuyama a lot because he is also a legendary precision iron player. And Sungjae Im is another one. So we've got two or three guys here. So I've got two or three guys here that can very easily do very, very well here. So I'll probably largely fade these two down here. I'll hope Webb Simpson's a little chalky. Justin Rose would make sense in a GPP, but I really think Matsuyama's the play here. So I'll probably have about 50% of Matsuyama, or maybe more, and probably 30% of M, which takes up 70%, 80% of my coverage of that tier, which means there just isn't much else to go around. So if I don't see Morikawa jump in on projections, I'll probably give him a minimum of 10 to 20% exposure. But if I do see him jump in a little bit, I'll probably do everything in this tier to allow the optimizer to do the work for me, but I'll probably uncheck Webb Simpson and just completely fade the guy. So I agree largely here as well. Tier 4, my favorite go-to is Patrick Reed always, every time, because he is under-owned for his ability. He almost always plays well in bigger tournaments, and this is just no different. However, this might be a week I make an exception, and the reason why is Matt Kuchar. Matt Kuchar has won here before. Matt Kuchar missed a cut last week with an ugly double bogey on the 18th or 36th hole. He is a very consistent cash game type of player, but has the upside to win here. He's not a bomber. He's more of a precision, more consistent, type of player that tends to succeed here, like a Jim Furyk even. And I'm going to probably really bank on that as a bounce back and probably end up 75% with Kuchar, and that only leaves me about 20% Reed and 5% whatever else it throws at me. So this tier has 5 people in it, and I'm going to be very heavy on these 2 guys, but way, way, way heavy, like a darn near lock. I'm not afraid to go 100% Kuchar. I may go 80% just so I can get some Patrick Reed. These are the only 2 in the tier I really care about. Tier 5, Johnson out. Woodland, Love, Finau, out. Answer, probably not. Hatton, don't really care. Kokrak, don't really care. Fitzpatrick, I don't know if Fitzpatrick can win. He can probably make a cut. Gary Woodland can win. Dustin Johnson can win. Finau can win. So I'm going to be choosing these types of guys over this guy anyway, because I'm not looking for a floor in a tier game. I'm not looking for somebody just to make the cut. These guys are going to make the cut most of the time too. So this is just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of a bullshit spot in this tier, and I can fade a lot of these guys down. I know everyone loves Hatton, and people are talking about Kokrak being on the up and come or whatever, but I don't give a shit. I would take these probably 3 guys here and split them up. I'm not as high on Finau. I should probably be higher on Finau, but I'm very high on Gary Woodland. The way he's played, the way he played, I think that I don't know how popular he's going to be in this. I think ownership's going to be split up a little bit, so I'm going to go very heavy on Gary Woodland, and I'm probably another 75%. That leaves about 20 to 25% for the rest of these guys. And I'm going to uncheck Johnson. I'll probably leave Finau in there and Answer in there be the 2 I'd prefer to see. So I'll probably play with the optimizer back and forth, hoping to get these 2 guys to be second and third in that tier. But Woodland is going to be another darn near lock. What I should do if I was building 20 to 50 lineups is I should just lock in Kuchar and lock in Gary Woodland, and then just let the optimizers do a lot of the work from there on out, because that alone should set me up to be, okay, and then give me some balance everywhere else. Tier 6 is another mess. Horschel is okay, Oosthuizen's okay, Kisner, Poulter, Hovland, whatever, they're all okay. There's only a couple of guys I would not play. Jason Day right now, I wouldn't play on here. Coach says fade Lowry, I'd probably fade Lowry. I don't have anyone that I really, really like here. So I would take like a Hovland, Poulter, Oosthuizen, and Billy Ho here, and probably put about 20% on each of them, and then let the optimizer overbalance the weight somewhere. Get at least 20% of each of those 4 guys, and then let the rest of it run. So when I'm setting up the optimizer, that's typically where my weights are going to be. I'm going to make some slight stands in some of these bigger tiers. Last week I didn't do anything in tier 6. I just let it run wide open, balanced everybody, and let them mix and match. Ended up with Daniel Berger and a handful of lineups, did well. That's how you're going to treat some of these situations. But when you can see leverage, like Woodland here, this is going to be maybe somebody in this tier is going to be 20 to 25% owned. Well, I'm going to have triple that. I'm going to have 75% Woodland. If Woodland does well, every one of my tiers lineup is going to look pretty good as long as the other guys got to the cut line. Patrick Reed, same, but Matt Kuchar, again, if he's going to be 40%, 50% owned, which he won't be in a tier with this many people in it, I'm going to absolutely be way overweight the field there, because I really do think that Kuchar is a lock to make the cut. And I think that he is probably just a top 10 or a top 5 waiting to happen. And I don't think Spieth, I don't think Fowler, I don't think these types of guys can compete. I think Reed can sneak in there, and so these are the two that I want to be heaviest on. So I'm trying to pick the guys that have the most chance at winning. And up here, of course, these three are messing things up a little bit. I would take more Morikawa just on the contrarian play, but I think Matsuyama could really win this week. I think Sungjae Im can put up a big score, and so this is a tougher tier when it comes right down to it, and I'm not going to be too balanced. My belief that Matsuyama can win the tournament is stronger than me wanting to play the GPP leverage game with Morikawa. So these are the two I'm going to be heaviest on. Morikawa's going to be in there some because I really do think the kid can bounce back with his precision. And then these tiers, I mean, really and truly, when they're so small like this, you could just put 30% on all of them and mix them and match them. There's leverage to be had with Rom. There's leverage to be had, with a Koepka or even a Scheifele, and there's a fade to be had here with Bryson. So I think he's going to be very, very popular. But those are the general ideas of what I would do and how I would set the optimizer up. Again, if you want to talk a little bit more strategy, you want to see the cheat sheets for the 4-day, for the showdowns, for everything else, then you need to get in here to DFS Army and become a VIP and unlock all of those tools for yourself. Use that coupon code CHOP, CHOP, get the 20% off discount. And while you're down there, like and subscribe to the video, because if I see demand, I'll fill it with putting content out there. It bounces around a little bit. You never know if I'm going to talk baseball or NASCAR or golf or what these days, because I'm doing it all and learning as I go, because it helps me track these coaches and tell you why we are absolutely the best community out there. So give us a shot. I'll talk to you on the inside. You guys have a good PGA week, and we'll talk to you on the flip side.